Hello, hello, my beautiful soul tribe. I am excited to be back on the podcast recording. I know it's been a little bit, so I'm really excited to just dive in and to share some thoughts that have been on my heart and on my mind and been experienced this past couple months. Are you searching? Are you looking for something new, something different? Are you being called to your ancestral roots? The Modern Sages podcast is a tribe of women that believe in exploring beyond the broken constructs of society. We believe in empowering women to embrace the medicine within, all with an open mind, baby. It's so interesting because I've been doing a podcast for over a year now, and I just really felt like I needed to take some time to regroup and reset. And now that I'm coming back, I feel really inspired to come back. But as I'm looking at the screen trying to record, I've been looking at the screen for quite a while, just unsure of how to get started or what to do. And so I just decided finally just start somewhere and everything else will work out. It always ends up working out. It's just trusting in the process and moving forward. So, in the recent podcast, we've had a lot of beautiful guests coming on and sharing about how they've been able to really connect and embrace the medicine within. And one thing I think that I've been really struggling with as far as kind of knowing what to do or what to post about is it almost just feels like social media is a lot to think about, a lot to deal with, a lot to handle, and it's so easy to get drowned out by everything other people are doing or experiencing. And it can feel like this really big numbing effect. And I know a lot of people experience it where we're like, okay, I feel like I need to take a break for a while and recenter, reset, refine myself. And then it's like we just go back to social media. And I think what I've been really sitting with is providing information and content that's true to my heart. But then part of me is like, oh, well, there's so much content out there. What's the point? And why? And so I think it's, I don't know, just something that I've been sitting with and really wanting to refocus in on this specific niche that I really want to hone in on is helping others to embrace the medicine within. Because in our world right now, we're so taught and it's so easy to look outside of ourselves. It's so easy to, look for a new guidance, a new person, a new YouTube channel to help us to find happiness or to fill our mind, fill our hearts with anything. And really, it feels like a lost cause in that sense sometimes is yes, it can inspire us and it can shift us in moving forward. But there comes a point where we're spending so much time outwardly that we're not stepping into the space inwardly. And then it's also like when you step inwardly, it can be easy to get stuck inside yourself to really go within and to be within and to just be in that space and also feel like playing a little bit safer as well. That it's easier to do that sometimes than to go big and go bold and to do the different things. And so I just feel like there's this balance that I'm trying to learn back and forth. It's been kind of an interesting thought. And to me, what matters is inspiring others and inspiring myself and learning and diving deeper into who I truly am and opening my heart and my mind to be more present in this physical world. And that's like one thing I feel that we all are really seeking for is that space within, is that presence, is that intimacy with life, with those around us, with everything to just feel more vibrant. But it's so easy to get stuck or to become numb or to become complacent and to get in the way of our own ambition. And I feel like the past few weeks I've been in that space Well, we've had some big changes going on. In November, I just felt like I wanted to take a break from having sessions for the rest of the year. And it's been really eye-opening for me because I really spent a lot of time almost, how do I say this? Defining myself by what I did, defining myself as being a medium and connecting to people's loved ones. And that is what gave me purpose. And that is what I based so much of my life off of, which isn't bad or wrong. It's a beautiful opportunity and it's so rewarding. And at the same time, it can be extremely exhausting and overwhelming. And it was taking a toll on my mental health, my physical, my spiritual, on everything. And so I just decided, I needed to take a break because it is draining. And I know that healers who are listening, whoever decides to listen, it might be like, oh, well, you need to be grounding more, or you need to be aligning more, or you need to be journaling or tube of light. Like, no, I was doing all of those things and it was still exhausting. And that's just part of life. That's part of it is we go through phases of inspiration and phases and times in which we need to rest and we need to regroup and we need to reset and sit with that. And really, in the past, in our ancient ancestors, when our women would go through their moon time, they would be put outside in a different tent where they were in a space of rest and in a space of inspiration and in a space of receiving so that they could receive information and guidance for their family. And then once their moon time was over, they were brought back into the family and they took on their role again. And I think in society now, we're just taught we have to go, 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 push through everything, make everything happen, keep going regardless of what you're going through. If you rest, you're lazy. Or when we rest, we're too busy on social media. Or we're doing things, we're watching shows, we're playing games, we're not fully being present in the moment, or we're finding ways to numb it out. And some say that some wouldn't say that, some would. I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts on that. And nothing is wrong with that, but I think there's a healthy balance. And I myself am trying to find that balance for who it is that I am and what it is that makes sense to me and what is true and honest inside myself. And so I think that's kind of where I've been a little bit hesitant is okay, in a world where there's so much going on, what's my part? And do I want to have a voice? Do I want to put myself out there? And it's can be a little bit overwhelming to think about and to sit with, be with, experience. So that has been in my space as well. We ended up moving back to Utah. So we spent 8 months in Georgia and I absolutely loved it. I 100% loved Georgia. I worked at the most amazing herb shop. I learned so much. I met some amazing, amazing, amazing people out there. Some soul sisters for life, forever. Just people who and you're like, oh my gosh, I love that person. And we ended up coming back for some job opportunities and different things like that. So it's been really fun being back in Utah. And then I've also been really focusing on my health. Is I have noticed that after having sessions, I would want to eat or find different ways to cope or to bring myself back down that weren't always the healthiest. And so it was definitely taking a toll on my physical health. And I just had a lot of different things going on that I knew needed to change and needed to be fixed. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working on that and focusing my time and attention along with setting up my house in that space. So it's been, I don't know, it's been really a really great couple months just reflecting. And I kind of have felt a lot more silent. I have not had any desire to share, to be on social media, to talk really to many people. I've just wanted to try to be more present. And then I get scared because I'm like, oh, this is so easy to be in this space, but I know I need to push myself. I know I need to get out of my comfort zone. And I love this community. I love it. It's so fun and it's so soul fulfilling. And I feel as though really this podcast and what I was inspired by when Candace, stepped away is to really focus on embracing the medicine within. And I want to dive deeper into that, and I want to take apart that and share my experiences and also bring in guidance and dive deeper into that space. And so I think for now I'm going to probably put a pause on having other people come on while we discover and dive deeper within ourselves, because ultimately it can be so easy for us to look outside of ourselves and to forget that everything is already within us. We are that God consciousness. It is a part of who we are. We can access it at any time in any space. And that's been something that I too have been struggling with, is I would try to sit and meditate or journey and I just would fall asleep, or I just had a big block. And so I just sat with that. And so finally I was like, okay, I'm going to walk on the treadmill and I'm going to listen to a journey and I'm going to work on that journey while I'm walking. I'm going to imagine all of the things that they're talking about as I'm moving my body, as I'm being connected into my body. And that brought such a different feeling. It brought what I needed at that time. And I don't know, as we come upon the Christmas season, which is this week, this is being recorded on December 19th. My heart does go out to those who feel, the holidays can be such a beautiful and fun time, but it can also be a time of great wounding or a time where people are moving through grief if they've lost loved ones. And it's a very unique time in life. It's a very unique space to work in. And I think that that is a big part of this human journey, is honoring other people's experiences as well as honoring our own, and not making ourselves bad and not making ourselves wrong, but finding things that bring us joy and that can bring us happiness and that can help us to be fulfilled, because we can go through our whole life just stepping in and playing the role, or we can go throughout life really daring to be brave and to be bold and to step into a new space, a new evolution, a new excitement to life. And why not? Why not do that, right? Like, we have the space. Why not do it? So, as I've been kind of sitting with that, I really wanted to share. I know everyone does things for the holiday season, but I don't know, I wanted to share a journey that I had this week, actually, connecting into my grandmother case. So this is my dad's grandma. She's been with me a lot doing journeys. Ever since I started working with Candace, I felt like she was my number one, my number one lady. And she still is to this day. I love my grandmother dearly. She passed when I was pretty young, so I didn't really know her very well. I mean, I have childhood memories of her. We called her Grandma No Legs. She had both of her legs amputated, so she was in a wheelchair. But she was always so fun. Like, she always had a good laughter, a good humor. And we had to be quiet. We had to show up the way that she needed us to, but she was really sweet. But as I've gotten to know her in spirit, she has brought a lot of understanding of myself and a lot of healing and a lot of joy. And she's been there in some of those deep soul healing experiences that I have been able to have. And it's been amazing having her in my corner. So as I was meditating this week, I just felt like this is a time where people can feel so connected as well as feel so alone. And I asked my grandmother as I was in this journey, what are three things, or why is it that we feel disconnected from our loved ones who have passed? And she shared with me some really great insight. I have a journal here that has my journey and all the things that I learned along it. So I'm just going to open that up. I thought I had it with me, but after staring at the screen for 30 minutes, I put my journal down. So I just kind of was talking to her. So first of all, when I opened this space up, I was sitting on my couch, I was breathing, I just called upon my angels. I created sacred space, called upon the four directions, heaven, earth, implemented and implanted that into my own heart center, really stepped into that beautiful space. I have a podcast with Candace. I can link in the show notes possibly about creating sacred space. But was able to do that. And as I did that, I saw this spiraling white light. And after I aligned between heaven and earth in this tube of light, I bridged myself into this beautiful space. And I watched as this beautiful white light called upon me to walk within it. It was like this tube with this vortex of energy. And as I walked within this vortex, I felt as though I was releasing any fear, any doubt, any worry, any hesitation. I was able to just release that and to let it go and to step into a new space. And as this tube of light came to an opening, I was in it was like a white room, and there was a fireplace. And I turned around, and my grandma has this beautiful Christmas tree and this beautiful pine tree. And she had this popcorn that she wanted me to string with her so that we could create and decorate this beautiful tree while her and I were speaking in spirit. And so as I was stringing along the popcorn, I was just talking to her, just getting in her space and loving, just being in this loving space with her. And I asked her, I said, Grandma, why do people feel so disconnected from our loved ones? Because we are them and they are us. And ultimately, we are spirit, but we come here to have this physical journey. And it's so easy for us to forget. It's so easy to get caught up in having to pay bills and in the drama and in relationships that we tend to forget that. And she talked to me about four things that really, really I wanted to share with you guys today on this podcast. And the first one she talked about is disbelief. There are a lot of times where, we may think, why would our ancestors care to come to me? Or why would my loved one care to show up for me here right now? I'm so insignificant. Or are they even there? Are they even experiencing anything? Why would they want me? Why would they even care about me? There can be this heavy disbelief, and it is things that we cannot see, that we do not understand. And then we also think, okay, well, maybe they have more that they're doing, or what are they doing, or why would it matter for them to come into my space, or to just have this disbelief that they don't care, or that we're disconnected, or that there's no point in having that connection. When in truth, we are all this Christ, this God consciousness. We are all this infinite source of love and of light. And they are an extension of that source, as are you, as am I. And as we are aware of that, knowing that, having that been said, we literally are a part of them and they are a part of us. And so, of course, they want to be here with us. Of course, they want to help offer us inspiration or guidance or insight, or to just be in our space and love us. And honestly, I have found that I kind of believe in my own way. What I've come to understand, and this is my interpretation, is that we are, if you think about like your fingers, like your arm, and then you have your fingers and your phalanges, right? It's almost like our higher self is the arm, and then this experience here in this body could be like the thumb or the pinky or the pointer finger, right? We are just one aspect of our infinite self. And so when people think, well, how can you connect to someone who's passed on? Are they already in a different lifetime? Or where do they go? What's their experience? And it's almost like I see this finger coming back into this access of your full arm of your true higher self. And so when delivering messages, it's not like I have to connect to that specific finger to get that information. It's like I'm connecting into the arm, I'm connecting into their higher self to receive guidance. And that's where, you know, that finger is part of this arm. That finger is part of this space. And so their quirky personalities, their memories, different things can come forward, but it's like I'm talking into their higher self. And so if we can think of ourselves in that space, and I'll do a whole podcast upon all of that as well, but that's just a brief overview. But if we can think about ourselves as this infinite source of light, and they are also an extension of this infinite source of light, of course they want to help us. Of course, as our spirit, as our infinite light is evolving and growing, their infinite source and light is evolving and growing because we are all one. We're all connected into that space. So, of course, they want to be here with us. And it's just moving from the space of disbelief or the space of unimportance to know that we are truly connected, regardless of the circumstance, because we are one. The next thing she talked about is we don't necessarily make the time for it. We might hear people or have people have experiences, or maybe they have a dream or a visitation, or they're just feel so connected into that space. And then there are times where we're like, well, how come I'm not feeling anything like that? Well, the question to really ask is, what am I doing to open up that space or to take that time to connect in? It's hard to have relationships with people if we don't take that time to have quality space with them and to really let someone know that we care about them. So, in that same concept, a lot of times we don't take the time to have those connections or to set the intention for that to happen. The third thing she talked about was sometimes it's just too painful to experience that. When we're recently going through grief or when we're trying to figure that out, we're navigating through the space. It can be really hard or really emotional for us to comprehend or for us to even want to face. And the thing that I want to say towards that is what I've come to learn over the past 6 years of messages really is that our loved ones do not want to show up to us in ways that are going to be too hard or too painful for ourselves to understand or for ourselves to feel. They don't want to open up that wound. They don't want to open up that deep grief if it's not going to be healthy for us. So they too want to help us assist in our own healing. And that may be that they do show up at times or that they don't show up at times. And so not feeling guilty or bad or wrong about that, but even implementing something simple to open up your space in a way that's freeing and comfortable for you is absolutely important. And it can be such a positive, profound experience. So we'll touch upon that a little bit more. And the fourth one that grandma talked to me about was some people don't, there are some people who have experienced great loss and grief, where there are others who haven't really lost anybody that they felt too attached to and felt that deep sense of uncertainty or needing closure or wanting reassurance. So that's just 4 of the many different reasons why we can feel disconnected or we can have this block or this unknown as far as it comes to connecting to our ancestors and connecting to our loved ones who have passed. And another podcast, as I said, I'll talk about the layers of spirit on the other side that I've come to understand. So anyways, going back to this journey with Grandma Case, her name is Frances. And I love it because my middle name is Francel. So her name is Frances, and my grandpa's name is Arzel. And so we put those two together for my middle name, Francel. And I found that very special. People always make fun of me like Franny, Francie. It's kind of an interesting middle name, but it has great meaning to me, especially because I've been working so much with my grandmother that I have really come to, to really love it. So as I was sitting with her you know, decorating the tree, talking to her, just being in her presence, she began to explain and to give me some ideas about how I can deepen my own connection with my ancestors. And I've been feeling really called to want to understand more about her side of the family and where they came from and where my great ancestors came from. Not just those who have been in the past that we know about, but those who are further beyond. And tapping into that, because as we know in this podcast, it's all about embracing the medicine within. And that medicine can be passed down generationally. What other people experience to find joy and to find happiness and freedom. And that's really what I'm so excited to dive deeper into. It makes me so dang excited. So she gave me a couple of different ideas um, of how we can find ways to connect to them during this time of the year. The first one that she really brought me into is she okay, so I sat down into a circle. I sat down into a drum circle. So I'm just reading over these notes to remember. Sometimes when you're journeying, it's like you come back into this space, and then as you're reflecting, you're receiving more guidance and more understanding. So as we were decorating it, she stopped me and she said, I want you to look around. I want you to focus on what it is that you can see with me right now. And as I was looking around, all of a sudden it was like this tree was in her front room in the house that she had when I grew up. And then she said, I want you to focus on the smell. And all of a sudden I could smell her house. And I want you to focus on what it is that you can hear. And my grandmother had oxygen as well. And so I could hear the oxygen machine. So I went through the five senses as I was brought into that space. And then she said, one amazing tool is creating the time to do mapping. And this is what I did as far as mapping goes. And so I want to share with you in detail about it. So then you can also do this however you prefer to do so. So I was going down the space of mapping, and she talked about focusing on one memory, leaning in with all five senses. So I leaned in, and then I remember I was just recollecting and being called into her house. And so I drew out what her house looked like. When we came in from the back porch, we came in from the garage, you could say, and we walked in, and to the left, it would go up the stairs. And if you went straight, it would go down the stairs. And if you were to go down the stairs, you would have to bend over or put your hand, like I'd always put my hand on the ceiling and kind of bend down to go underneath of it. And then I could remember hearing the creaks in the stairs as I walked down. And then I was going downstairs and I was remembering the smells that I had and trying to remember what the house looked like in the rooms. And I focused on some of the fun memories that I had in the basement. And grandma always did not like when we went in the basement. But she had this really cool comb in her bathroom. It was a huge comb that was on the wall in the bathroom there. And because my grandma was in a wheelchair in the bathroom upstairs, she had this big toilet seat that she put on top of the seat so she could slide onto it. And so when that was on, we didn't touch it. Me and Jesse, we just went to the bathroom downstairs, but we also like to brush our hair with that amazing huge comb. And it was just something that we both cherished and loved so deeply and that we still talk about today. So then she says, okay, I want you to go back upstairs. So I walk up the stairs and I walk into the kitchen and I drew out what I remember as to where the table was. And they had a circle table, and my grandpa always sat in this one spot. And I remember pictures on the wall of one of my cousins who went to the dances. She had a cabinet that had a bunch of china in it. I remember the the window and where that was at. So I took time mapping out how the house was and what I remember and what I could feel and smell and experience in that room. And then I moved into the living room, where in the living room we talked about the couch, the photos on the wall. One of my uncles, he paints on like saws, and she had one of those. I think she had a couple on one of the walls. And so I was just in that space remembering those things. And as I remembered them with her by me, I was able to feel her even stronger. And I was able to experience those memories in such a beautiful and fun way. And she said the key to mapping is to think of a memory or to think of a person or to think of a place related to a person and honing in on your five senses, honing in on that which brings you remembrance. And that can be done. So I did that throughout her whole house. And then I was brought to the traditions that I had on Christmas. When we were younger, we would go to her house on Christmas and bring her a gift. And we came to visit for a while. And I just remember coming in on Christmas Day being like, oh, I didn't really want to go anywhere, but going into her house and having my aunts and uncles come and go in that space as well. And then all of a sudden, I remembered that my grandma had those, those vanilla, they're not even wafers. They're like, I don't know, like those zebra cookies that had like cream puff, like cream filling inside, but they were like the cheap ones. It was like kind of like Oreos, but not Oreos. It was like, I don't know, just like really cheap, nasty cookies. And I just started laughing because all of a sudden I remembered those and I was like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of my grandma. And she was laughing with me. And it just gave me a different space of connection. And I felt so excited and I loved it. And so, as she was telling me more about mapping, she talked about, you can map a home, like I said, you can map a childhood home or a room or something that you remember of somebody who you want to connect in with. You can map their face out. So maybe you want to imagine, maybe my grandma, I could draw out, her eyes, her face, her wrinkles, just draw out those things, what I remember about her hair, and think about, okay, what did she feel like when I was with her? Or what did she smell like? Like bringing in all those five senses in the space of mapping. And you can also do that with someone's personality. You can map out someone's personality. You can, set the intention to call upon that space and to just remember every aspect of their personality, because sometimes people can be very dynamic and bold, and then other times they can be very sweet and sensitive. And so really it's setting that time to map map into the space. And not only that, is it's giving you a space to call upon their spirit, their higher self, their arm, to jump into your space and to be with you and to help you feel their presence and their strength and their love and their guidance. So that was one that really hit home with me, that I was really enjoying, was the mapping. And focusing on those five senses was something that was absolutely beautiful, and it helped me feel a lot more close to my grandmother at that time. And for those who maybe are having a harder time, who, maybe the grief is still really strong or it's still something that's hard to face, on those holidays, you can always light a candle. And you can light a candle in the morning, saying a prayer or saying something to your loved ones, and then light that candle and allow that candle to burn throughout the day. And then at night, or whenever you feel like you want to close that off, you can come back to that candle, offer gratitude, talk about the things that you're grateful for as if you were talking to that individual person, and then blow the candle out. You are physically adding them into your space. By doing something physical in a spiritual way can help bridge that gap. And so if you want to have a connection, but you don't want it to be too much, or it feels like a lot to handle right now, I would say get a candle and just light that at the beginning of the holiday. And then at the end, close with gratitude and just talk to that person as if they were in the room with you as you stare into the flame. And you may feel a really big difference in that space. The other thing that's really great is traditions. Not everyone has holiday traditions or traditions in general, but finding those things or doing those things that bring joy. We always have a Norwegian party on Christmas Eve to celebrate my Norwegian heritage, which is connected to my grandmother, my mom's side. My grandfather was from Norway, and he met my grandmother as she served a mission in Norway. And so my family's always tried to keep the Norwegian heritage pretty strong. So we always have a really amazing New Year or Christmas Eve party that we have Norwegian food and we dance around the Christmas tree. It's just really fun, and it just makes you feel very connected to your ancestors. On top of that, my cousin, she makes this really beautiful cake that my grandfather used to make. And she even had experiences feeling his presence around as she was making that. This year I want to work with my sister-in-law who makes a Yule bread, and she makes this bread that is also Norwegian, and it helps connect to the heritage of our Norwegian family. So this year I asked her that when she does make that, if I can come and learn how to make it as well, as a way to connect into that to that heritage and to feel their inspiration, to feel their love in making that bread. So that's something that I want to do this year too. The other fun, so that goes along with like baking foods that remind you of a specific person, or maybe having smells that remind you of a specific memory or a person. Another really cool thing to do is to have a memory box. So maybe that will be, maybe you sit down with everyone who wants to and you write memories about your loved ones and you place them in a box. And then, a lot of people will do like the 12 days of Christmas or whatever that is. You could do that where you have like a week of different memories that you pull out and you read one memory a week. Or say maybe this year you decide, okay, I'm going to write two memories and I'm going to put it in this box. And then next year I'm going to write two more memories, but then I'm going to pull a memory out that I can remember about this person that helps you keep their memory alive, but it also gives you the time and the space to feel their presence or to just remember physically about that person, which is a really beautiful opportunity. The last thing that she talked about is maybe collecting things that someone collected. So I find this so fascinating. So Curtis's father passed, my husband, his father passed a month and a half before we met. And his father collected M&Ms. So Curtis gave him some M&Ms as a child, and then after that he just started collecting a lot of figurines and all kinds of stuff. So when his father passed, we went to the house in which he was living at when he passed, and we went through the basement and we got a few boxes, and there was lots of different M&M things. So we had him in a storage unit for a long time in Georgia. When we went to Georgia, we finally got those, and then we were able to bring them with us here. And during that time too, I knew how important collecting M&Ms would be for Curtis because that was a way of keeping his father alive. And so on Christmas Day, I always would give him an M&M figurine and different things like that. So we always incorporated that into our space. And it was really cute. So to this time, I'm like, finally, I have this house I can decorate. I have my tree with me. I have all of the M&Ms. So I am going to decorate. Christmas is always going to be M&Ms. And so we get into this house and I'm decorating and I'm putting up garland and mini trees with all of these adorable M&M figurines. We have the cutest M&M ornaments. It's just been so fun. And it was so cute because when I was doing that, all of a sudden I was like, I need to have a bunch of different candy canes just in this M&M mug that I have. I just want to keep it stocked all December with different candy canes. And we didn't really do candy canes a lot in my house growing up. So, anyways, I went to the dollar store and I got, now and later candy canes, peppermint, all different kinds. And when Curtis came home, he's like, "Oh, you have all these M&Ms and or all of these candy canes." It's like, "Yeah, for some reason I just thought that it would be really fun to have have candy canes." And he started laughing because his dad used to have a lot of candy canes on their tree, but Curtis wasn't allowed to eat them. And his other siblings could have them. He couldn't really have them because they didn't want him to have a lot of sugar. And, anyways, he would sneak them. So it was really just so funny to feel that as I was putting up the decorations of M&Ms, as I was thinking about Randall, trying to incorporate his life, his love, his influence in our life, all of a sudden I was like, I need to bring candy canes into the house. And that was such a wound that Curtis had that he couldn't eat them. And so now he has an abundance of them that his father like inspired me to have them in our house. And it was just really cute. And then of course on Facebook that same day I was decorating on the memories 5 years ago, I had been at M&M World in China. Me and some of my friends went to teach English for 4.5 months there. And I remember at that time, I'm like, I want to go to every M&M factory in the world. No rhyme or reason, no reason why, but I just thought that's what I really want to do. And that memory came up the exact same day that I was decorating our house full of M&Ms as our holiday tradition and getting those candy canes as well. So it just was so funny how all of that incorporated and worked out so perfectly all at the same time without even having that as the intention. But it was setting that time aside and honoring that tradition and collecting those things that would help bring that memory and keep that memory alive and booming and exciting. And so I just thought it was, I don't know, it was really special. And so it's been kind of fun to look out and to see all the M&Ms and the garland and all kinds of fun stuff to make that feel really tradition, and that's going to be our tradition is having an M&M Christmas and collecting those little at a time to add to them. So it was just something that really brought me a lot of joy, and it was really fun to see how that helped bring a lot of fun for Curtis as well. And I think the memory box is actually a really good idea. I think I want to do that as well this year is just take some time to write some memories. And maybe that's even writing memories for this year. Maybe it's like, hey, kids, like, let's sit down and write 5 of our favorite memories this year. And then maybe that goes to the next year is you guys also write 5 more memories and you read the last one. So, like, over a collection of years, you have all these fun memories that you might not remember, but as you go back and you pull them or you look at them throughout time, you're like, oh, remember this? That was so fun, or this or that. And keeping memories alive truly is part of the experience. Is that when our loved ones pass, they don't really care about the things that we had or the things that they had. I mean, there are some people, like I've had some guys who really loved motorcycles and they'd like come up like in the session, they'd like drive up in this motorcycle and I had a dress. This is what they're doing. And it totally made sense. But a lot of times we get so caught up in doing the things or getting the things that we forget about experiencing things. So I think that, that's one way to connect in is to not focus so much on having to buy all of the things or stressing about it not being perfect, but about making those memories or writing those memories down and having that in your space to collect and to look back upon. Because when we pass, yes, we may like those dresses that we had, but what really matters is the memories that we were made and the heartfelt connections that we did experience. And so, why not start this holiday season? I know it can be tough. There can be a lot there. There can be a lot of things to do and to not do and to experience. But ultimately, our loved ones want to help empower us to be present, to help empower us to enjoy life. And that's also going through hard times and knowing that we're going to come out on top. And they're here to support us and to love us and to be with us in that space. So as I'm looking back at my notes, her nasty cookies, and as I was with her and just embracing and mapping everything out, I just started to write. I wrote a letter to her. I wrote a letter from her to me of just some of the things that really stuck out to me. And so I'm going to read a little bit here. Focusing on one memory, leaning in with 5 senses. In there, and then it wrote, "You always have been so kind and caring. Coming to visit never seems too awful for you. You like to sneak downstairs and get into all the stuff that I really didn't want you to. But it's not like I could go down there in the basement. The squeaks of the stairs, the hands touching the ceiling as you ducked under to get into the basement." And then she wrote about, and then she just kind of gave me this guidance about this following year. And I just wrote down whatever was coming to my mind about how I can find more presence, to be more connected, and to lean in and to learn to rely upon her even more. And I think that we all can have this connection. It doesn't mean that we have to be a medium to be connected to our loved ones, because we already are. We are. Everyone is in their own way. It's all about believing and enhancing and stepping in and trusting those abilities, because those abilities are who we truly are, not this body. It's that spirit to spirit connection. So we have it within us constantly at all times. We just forget about it. And they want to help us remember. So, anyways, this is just a little bit of what's been on my mind. I'll be coming in on again next week and really sharing more about what else I've been learning and experiencing, and really just finding ways to dive deeper into the medicine within. And I think that's going to be a pause on bringing other people on, but really just honing in and listening in onto what that is. So, anyways, I think I'll probably add a bonus as well, of a journey to connect to your ancestors during this holiday season as well. So, anyways, I hope that you have an amazing day, a great holiday. I am so grateful for you, my beautiful soul tribe. Blessings, love, and light. Do you feel called to connect to your medicine within? Have you wanted to strengthen your spiritual gifts? Are you looking for ways to incorporate the sacred into your everyday life? Maybe do you want to have like-minded friends in a tribe who can connect with you? Modern Sage's Soul Tribe is dedicated to spiritual seekers like yourself who are embracing the medicine within. Now, in this tribe, we are going to be doing moon gatherings, amazing spiritual gift giveaways, connecting to a soul tribe, as well as hosting mystery school classes. If you are feeling called to connect to the soul tribe, I will leave a link for you in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to Modern Sages Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us online. Blessings.